Okay, I'm back again, guys. This late night thing has just been working this week for obvious reasons. It's really hard to sleep when there's so much tension and turmoil in the country. Like how I don't know how anybody's really sleeping good unless you've been working a lot. But I've been paying attention to the current events. It's impossible not to, right? At this point, it's just you have to tune it out, and that's what I do, like house projects for, and I stay busy, but I stay up to date because our world is changing so fast. It's just this is unbelievable. Nobody alive has ever seen anything like this. Not to this extent, not this back to back to back to back to back. Anyways, so I've been keeping up with the events today, and as I pay attention to everything that's going on, new revelations start to just kind of come to me. I just things just start to click, and then I'm like, I better go talk about it now. Usually this happens right before I go to bed, and I'm so tired, and I'm like, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll remember everything and I'll be able to articulate it. And then nope, I'll either forget it or something else will pull me in a different direction. So now I'm just gonna say it right when it happens, even if it's 3 in the morning, because as we saw from the other night, I had a pretty good sized crowd. I think we were at least 100 people watching, and I was shocked because sometimes I can't even hit that in the middle of the day. So, anyways, make sure you guys like this video. Please like it. Also, give it a share so we can get it on Facebook, because I should really be paying for StreamYard, because once I pay for this, I can go live on multiple platforms, because that would be ideal if I can have tie in the Facebook and the YouTube audience. That would be great. So I'll probably end up doing that, especially now. Like I need to be talking to everybody at once instead of going back and forth. But anyway, I've been paying attention to everything that's going on, specifically in Minneapolis, the epicenter, right where this all started. And, a lot has changed, at least in terms of the information that's come out from both the mainstream and the alternative media, which is the real news, right? The people that are on the ground reporting the truth without a narrative, without fakery and all that stuff. And there's a lot of suspicion and speculation to the story and all of that, right? I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. I just want to point out that there are some anomalies with this situation, right? There's just some synchronicities, some things that just seem to fit a little bit too seamlessly, or we can just call them coincidences, right? Like that's what a lot of people like to do. There's some coincidence theorists out there, people who just think that everything's a coincidence. You can explain it all the way, and maybe it's true. Maybe they're right. Wouldn't the world be a better place if all of these things were just coincidences? Wouldn't it? Yeah, it probably would. But it's actually not. A lot of the things that are happening and lining up seem to fit seamlessly during an election year, right? And it's like one thing after another, right? Nobody's talking about coronavirus anymore, right? That's basically why everyone's talking about this now. It's like we seamlessly moved from one news story to another, right? So here we are. We're talking about the arrest was made today, third-degree murder and manslaughter. And I thought that would maybe quell some of the protests, but no, actually, they've exploded. We have more protests, and not just in Minneapolis. We have them nationwide. And I didn't know this because it wasn't really being reported on, but the protests started a couple nights ago. I know that Denver had a crazy protest. They had somebody get run over by a car. It looked like they were okay. I mean, they got up, I guess, after and tried to chase them or something, but that happened in Denver. New York has had protests. And now what's crazy is now they're reporting on it. Even though it's been happening for a couple of days, they're reporting on it. They're showing what's happening in Atlanta. Atlanta's getting crazy. Houston, Louisville, Kentucky, there were shots fired the other night. Indianapolis, Chicago. I just got an email that there's going to be protests in Florida tomorrow. So it seems like it started in Minneapolis, and then it expanded through the Midwest, and now it's nationwide, which kind of ties into where I'm going with this. It seems very orchestrated, and I know some of you guys are calling that out in the chat right now. I know you guys know that this is orchestrated. This is a George Soros thing, right? Black Lives Matter and Antifa. But what's crazy about the story is just kind of how things they're too weird. They're too weird. So George Floyd and the officer, I keep forgetting his last name, they worked together, right? So that's weird in itself. That's weird that you could execute somebody that you worked with, whether you liked them or didn't, and just be emotionless. Okay. That's weird. It's also just a little bit weird that he was kneeling on him, right? Who else kneeled as it related to police brutality, right? So they could tie that together. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that, these things they're tied together. This is for sure why it happened. But I'm saying, how perfect is it that a police brutality case involved kneeling on a black man, and then they can tie it to Colin Kaepernick, who kneeled to bring up police brutality. Guys, I can't be the only one who sees that and is like, that's just a little bit too convenient. I'm just saying that's weird, okay? The other thing that's weird, okay? All of the protests, right? Who likes to wear masks during protests? Antifa. What's everybody being forced to wear because of coronavirus? Masks. So it's just a little bit too convenient that the mayor of Minneapolis would say, you guys out there protesting, make sure that you stay social distanced. And also you guys need to make sure you're wearing masks. We will be handing out masks and making sure everybody's staying safe while you're burning down your city. I'm just saying, guys, it fits a little bit too seamlessly. I'm not saying, this is absolutely what's happening, but how many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible? You guys be the judge. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but hey, at the end of the day, I would rather wear a tinfoil hat than a blindfold. I can see what is happening in this country, and I see how it exploded. It exploded. It wasn't even 7 days ago that we were talking about Biden's gaffes. And since then, we've had back to back to back black on white violence in the Michigan nursing home. You had the Central Park Karen situation. You've got this. You had that other shooting come out, the one in Indiana, the forced entry, whatever. I forget what it's the technical term, what they call it. Forced entry without knocking or whatever with the police. I don't know if that came out this week or last week, but they're full throttle on this racial narrative, dividing us along racial lines. Another weird thing, super weird thing. Okay. They called in the National Guard last night. Okay. Obviously for reinforcement for the riots. Okay. How is it that when the National Guard gets called in, that's when the precinct gets taken over? How did unarmed protesters, rioters, take over the precinct? And I've seen the videos of cop cars hightailing it out of there, basically surrendering that building. And as of tonight, like as of 30 minutes ago, when I was just looking on Snapchat, this is where I'm getting a lot of my updates on Snapchat and on Twitter, because it's instantaneous. People are uploading, live streaming, all that stuff. Now they have surrounded the 5th precinct in Minneapolis. This is just Minneapolis. We'll get to Atlanta and what's happening in New York and other cities after, but the epicenter where this all began, Minneapolis, now they're taking over the 5th precinct. So, and I guess they're throwing Molotov cocktails at it. So if it's anything like last night, that would be 2 police precincts destroyed, burned to the ground in an American city where they've already called in the National Guard. It's just like I said, guys, this right here for Alex Jones, For all the people who follow Alex Jones, he's been saying it for years. You can think he's crazy. I don't agree with everything he says. He's wild. He flies off the handle too many times, but he can also be right about some things too. And he was 100% right about the New World Order agenda. This is the most perfect martial law lockdown scenario imaginable, because on the day of the arrest, right, which is why everyone was really outraged, right? In Minneapolis, it's very specific because they've had a lot of these cases. They have a very corrupt police department. So the energy was festering for years. And I felt it when I was there because I experienced a lot of the police brutality. I'm not personally, but I've seen a lot of the cases up close and personal. So I get what's going on in that city. But for the rest of the country to then amplify all the protests after the arrest, and it happened to be a Friday night, everything just seems like it's a part of some kind of orchestrated plan, almost as if it was premeditated, right? It's just crazy that now on a Friday night, they're getting coverage of these other cities like, ooh, boom, now it's exploded. Now it's in Houston. Now it's in Atlanta. Now it's in New York City. It's in Washington, D.C. I saw something on fire in Washington, D.C., Louisville, Kentucky, Denver. Do you guys see what I'm talking about here? We may already be past the point of no return, because can you recall the last time you saw something like this, exactly like this, on top of the pandemic, where it's not weird to see people with their face covered, which doubles as you can, get away with whatever you want, looting, rioting. It all ties together. That's what I'm saying. And for mayors to say, make sure you're social distancing and wear, like, okay, yeah, the people that just burned down the police precinct are going to follow your stupid curfew. And then the headline reads, I saw a news story. It's like, protests persist on the fourth night despite curfew order from mayor. Yeah, no kidding. You cannot make this stuff up, guys. The truth is stranger than fiction, but also the truth is right there in your face. It's right there. We can all see it. We can see what's happening. The question is, are people going to believe what they're seeing with their own eyes? Because the media will tell you something different. They'll convince you that, no. Like the guy in Minneapolis, just on MSNBC, the dude standing in front of a burning building as he's telling you the majority of the protests, they're actually, lawful. There's actually not a lot of crime being committed. These are, civil people who are just outraged at what's going on, as there's a building on fire behind him. If that is not gaslighting, then there is no such thing. Convincing you of another reality that exists despite what you can see with your own eyes. Put more stock into what we're telling you than what you're seeing. With the backdrop of burning buildings, smoke, ash, people running around with masks on their face, grabbing stuff, chaos, total chaos. He's standing there in front of you saying, this is fine. This is fine. It's cool. That's what they're doing. You can't make it up. And then also the black guy from CNN getting arrested on camera. What are the odds that in Minneapolis, where you've had this case of police brutality, you have a black guy from CNN happens to be live on air as he's getting arrested. Oh, I'm getting arrested on camera. This is such an injustice. Right? Just to douse the flames, just to throw some more gasoline on. Oh, they're arresting a black reporter, but they can't arrest the guy that killed the black guy. And we're supposed to believe that there's no agenda. Donald Trump's dividing America because of his tweets. Donald Trump is the one promoting and glorifying violence, but we're calling the people who are actually committing violence protesters. Just like all throughout the election cycle when they said, these are just peaceful protesters. What do they call them? Peaceful anti-fascist protesters showing up because of the fascist right-wing bigots, the Proud Boys, the Trump supporters. They'll tell you that as they show you video of Antifa beating people in the head with bike locks, throwing bottles of piss, using bats and everything else. They say these are peaceful anti-fascist protesters. That's part of the mental conditioning, the brainwashing, the mind control, the manipulation, telling lies visually, television. That's what has happened. It is the craziest thing. And I've never had such clear vision as I do now. Dare I say I have 20/20 vision? And I know if you're watching this right now, you probably have 20/20 vision too, because I don't know how anybody could be watching me or subscribe to this channel if you don't see what I see. I'm not saying I need a cult following, but I'm saying the people that follow me are in lockstep. They see exactly what I see, and they're sharing it. They're talking to other people. They're bringing people on board because people's realities have been shattered. They don't know what to make of it. They don't know what to do with this because they've never seen it. None of us have ever seen this. None of us have ever seen this combination of all these crazy things. Sure, we've seen riots over police shootings, and we've seen viruses and pandemics, but we've never seen it all mixed together on top of everything else that has gone on this year and in the past couple years during an election year where everything has just reached like a total fever pitch. And what I think is happening is they have the perfect justification for a martial law lockdown in all of these major cities. All the major cities have some form of protest that is tense, borderline violent, some arrests, tear gas, police are out there in riot gear. It's not peaceful protesters. It's not just people standing on the corner with signs. Maybe that's true during the day, but at night is when this stuff is happening. And it's happening right now as we speak, as you guys are watching me, this stuff is happening. So I did figure out how to share my screen with the sound. So that's amazing, but we got to test it out. We got to make sure it's working. And once we do that, I think we should let's just experience what's happening together. So you have to bear with me here though, because there may be some technical difficulties, but I just think, okay, share audio. We're going to share my main screen. Okay, there I am. Now let's go. Hold on. Let's do this. Okay, hold on. All right, got the famous DuckDuckGo here, right? That's supposed to be good, right? You're supposed to be able to do the DuckDuckGo thing. Let's see if we can find, okay, I have to sign in. Let's see what we can find out here. See, look at that. Minneapolis protests continue despite curfew on fourth night of demonstrations over George Floyd's death. Will color me shocked. Now, you guys let me know if you can hear it or not in the chat. We're just testing it out. Sound, can you guys hear it? Yay, nay? This must be them taking the precinct. Sound? Okay, good. We got sound. Okay, I just wanted to test it out. Okay, so we got sound. That's great. Yeah, 5th precinct. So I don't know if there's any. And see, I wish I could pull up Snapchat here. National Guard is moving in on the rioters at the 5th precinct. So this Alpha News is where I shared the video from Facebook, the live stream from the other night that's got over 1 million views. Whoever this person was did an amazing job just walking through, getting super close and just documenting. That's what we need, is just documenting so we have an accurate record of what's going on, because there's been a lot of anomalies. That's what other thing that I didn't bring up, or I forgot to bring up, is the video of a guy wearing like a gas mask, and he's got a black umbrella, and apparently he was an undercover cop or something, and he's walking around bashing out windows with a hammer. And then there's a whole George Soros owns AutoZone and Target, apparently, and those were the two big corporations or retailers that were taken over or that were destroyed. So he would be able to collect insurance money for that. Just crazy stuff, man. Stuff that just you couldn't script it. Let's see what they're saying here.
Precinct to clear area, enforce curfew. Well, that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, Miguel, that makes sense. That they use the tear gas to disperse the crowd, and then they come behind it, and they usually have some kind of organizational plan about where they want people to go. You'll find that out before we do. The officers who are walking up from Minneapolis, people were asking online what those long sticks are. Those are called various things, but basically they are crowd control batons. They are usually made of wood, sometimes of plastic. You will hear from officers that will tell you that they're not as solid because they're not supposed to injure as much as some of the black batons would or the old wooden batons. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they tell you. Those are the long sticks you're seeing on their bodies. Miguel, any idea of where they're moving to?
Police have a very long night ahead of them. I think what they are trying to do now is get out in front of the protesters and keep moving alongside of them and keep them on the defensive, basically. And we'll probably start making arrests. I mean, last night, for all of the damage and all of the stuff that we saw last night, there were not that many arrests.
Okay, so the Clown News Network, they're hanging out with the police. They're not going in the thick of things. It looks like they're trying to, I don't know if they saved that precinct or not. The last report I got is they were throwing Molotov cocktails at it and they surrounded that building. So, I mean, and I think this is still in the south part of the city, South Minneapolis. The 5th precinct is not that far from the 3rd precinct because they marched there. But I mean, I guess if I can find some video, here, let me flip this back. Here. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, so if I could find some video that we could watch, that's what we'll do. If you guys find a link or something, just post it in the chat. I was really hoping that there would be some kind of live feed we could watch. Maybe on Facebook, but I don't feel like digging around and searching. But guys, imagine thinking that this is not an agenda, because there are still people out there who think that. And what's sad is there are a lot of conservatives. Let's just switch to talking about another city now, Atlanta. There are a lot of conservatives and people that follow me who got really bent out of shape because I posted that CNN clip. I posted a clip of CNN getting defaced in Atlanta. And people got mad about it because they thought that I was in support of violence and riots, when in reality, I'm not. I've said as much. In fact, I was just joking. I said, like, well, if there's got to be some kind of riots, I mean, it just felt like poetic justice. And I was just pointing out the irony that CNN fans the flames of this 24/7. And then, I don't know, Frankenstein turned on them. I mean, you built this monster and it turned on you. And that's what those optics look like. And no, it wasn't a video. You guys saw it. It wasn't a video of people getting beat up. It was a video from afar, and it had graffiti on the CNN sign and a bunch of protesters. I just thought that was funny because the machine turned on itself. That's what it looked like. But people got really butthurt, and somebody that follows me, we were going at it on Twitter, and I'm like, tell me again why this is the end of the world, when CNN themselves glorified and propped up and got the mass hysteria going after, I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Michael Brown. And the next thing you know, 5 police officers were shot in Dallas and killed off of Don Lemon, stoking the flames of racial tension. So they did that. So if for whatever reason people turned around and said, let's go destroy the CNN headquarters, I mean, who's going to really be upset about that? No, I'm not saying they should go inside and beat people up and hurt them. No, I don't condone that at all. But I mean, it's funny and it's ironic and it's also karma. And if the building of CNN got burnt down, like if the organization was done, could that be the worst thing for the world? I mean, 99% of our problems go away when we turn off the TV. Because they lie every day. They've been caught lying. Propaganda, misinformation. I'm just saying. That was just funny to me. People getting so bent out of shape. And then I'm seeing some in the black community, because everybody's, jumping on Candace Owens, hating on Brandon Tatum. Everybody's just going at them. Like, I don't know what changed where everyone's just spending so much time focusing on what they think. What about what you think? Why are you always worried about Brandon Tatum said this, Candace Owens is doing this? It's like, if she spent even a fraction of time thinking about you as what you think about her, then it might be worth it. But does she even acknowledge half of the people that come at her sideways? People will make entire videos talking about how much they don't like Candace Owens and she's a bad wench and all this stuff. I'm like, man, you need to chill. You seem real hostile and unhinged. But anyway, people are tripping now talking about, oh, black conservatives doing this. You're grifting if you're condemning the rioters. And then I'm seeing people saying, oh, you're mad about them looting and rioting at Target. Target can recover. You're mad about Target and AutoZone. I'm like, no, it's not just about Target and AutoZone being big white corporations. They employ the minorities that you claim you're fighting for. So their economic situation instantly got worse by the fact that they don't have a job and they got their cars broken into and maybe their house was broken into. Maybe they had a second job down the street that got destroyed. And then I saw people saying like, oh, well, they didn't destroy any small businesses. They're going after the big ones. Even if that were true, which is not true because they destroyed a shit ton of small businesses. They destroyed a lot of small businesses in Minneapolis. But even if they left them, does that mean that they can go to work? Is anyone going to go and buy some jewelry tomorrow? The whole city is locked down. So it doesn't matter if the business is still physically intact. They can't work. They can't make money because of what's happening in the city. So by default, they've destroyed small businesses. Small businesses can't be closed for months on end. They've already been closed because of the coronavirus. The people who are spewing this message, they're not thinking, man. They're just like, oh man, you don't stand with them. This is pent up frustration and anger. Why do we always have to stick up for the lowest common denominator? Like we go after the lowest person, the lowest behavior and defend that. That's literally like what Black Lives Matter does. They defend criminals. In this case, no, they're not defending they're defending this is the right thing to defend this man, George Floyd. But most of the time, they're defending people who were so in the wrong. They're always defending that. And then it's pretty much like it's this little civil war that's been happening amongst black people who are conservative, right? This has been the Brandon Tatums or the Hoteps and the pro-blacks and all of that weirdness that's going on. They're the ones that are like, they're either not caring or they're too proud to condemn black people looting and destroying businesses, even though they're destroying black businesses. And when they're going after Targets and literally, right, when they're going after Target and when they're destroying AutoZone and Aldi and all of the businesses, those businesses are in minority communities, okay, and they employ minorities. So they're destroying their own community while they're saying they're trying to help their own community. It is the most counterproductive, destructive thing I've ever seen. And for some of these pseudo intellectuals to try to prop it up and defend it is sickening. It just shows how far in the matrix someone can be while they think that they're really woke. They think that they're actually making a difference. When in reality, they're trapped in the same matrix. But not people like me. I see it. I see it. And no, I don't have all the answers. I don't have everything figured out. But what did I just get wrong about that? For those that think that you're a coon if you say, man, the rioting is bad. And it's not just black people that are rioting, because I mean, a lot of people want free stuff. A lot of people want free stuff. People from all races support Bernie Sanders last time I checked. So this is Bernie's America right here. It's a free-for-all, a frenzy. Sure, the door is open. Go get whatever you want. It's free, when in reality, it's not free. You either pay on the front end or you pay on the back end. So if you want something in this world, you got to work for it. You don't work, you don't eat. If you want something, earn it. Go buy it. If you think you're getting it for free, you're going to pay for it on the back end. By that business not being there anymore, or your tax dollars going towards rebuilding it. See, all these looters, all these rioters, what these dummies don't realize is they're going to have to rebuild that city. And if you still live there, it's coming out of your paycheck if you're working. If you can find work, and taxes are going to go up. No matter how you slice it, it comes out of the taxpayer's dime. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That city will be rebuilt on government subsidies. Best believe Target's filing insurance claims. They're going to get money from the city. It's going to be subsidized. It's going to come from your city tax or your state tax or both, or gas tax, whatever they can do. And things are going to be more expensive if they even want to rebuild in that area. It's like people will cut off their nose to spite their face. So yeah, we really showed them. We showed Target, we showed AutoZone, the companies that employ minorities and are in minority communities to make it convenient for them to shop and improve their quality of life. You destroy it. And then you have people who defend it. They call it protesting. They justify it, calling it outrage. Just saying, man. Mike is the second best YouTuber, second best after alt-right. Real funny. Unless I don't know if that was a joke or not. I don't know if alt-right is a YouTuber. I can never tell. I don't know. I always welcome discussions. I always welcome people that want to debate. If people want to debate, have a civil discussion with me. I always throw that out there. My email's always in the description. And yet people never want to email me. They never do. I'm like, hey, let's just chat. Let's talk. But no, it's much more fun and it's easier and it's safer for people to not show their face and just go off in the chat. And that's fine. That's fine. It says a lot about the character of those people. Shows that they're cowardly and they know that they would just get trashed. They'll get embarrassed, to be quite honest. Because when I'm on fire, I'm on fire. But I'm just saying, man, like the tribal identity matrix, level up, man. Come on. You ain't getting out of here alive. You're not that special. For those watching that, I can see a few people in there in the chat that I don't know if they agree or disagree. But if you really believe that your skin color is more important than anything else, then you're in the matrix and you're going to be easy to control. Guess what? You'll be so easy to control. So easy to control, because look, all they got to do is show you. They didn't even need this George Floyd situation. They didn't need Ahmaud Arbery. They didn't need the chick in Indiana or wherever that happened, Kentucky, I think. They didn't need that. All they need is a little psyop. All they got to do is get the Central Park Karen thing, and that just gets you upset. It's like they press a button and activate the hive mind. They activate the chaos. They know how to do it. They do it so well. It's psychology. They have it down to a science, quite literally. They know how to activate the chaos, and they can do it amongst segments of the population. So if they section you off and get you into some little identity group, because this is all socially constructed, I'm just telling you, it's just the truth. Your body's a shell and you're a soul. That's it. Everybody's going to have the same fate at the end of the day. There's good and evil. You're either going to be in heaven or hell or whatever, but you get 15 minutes on the planet. If you want to spend 15 minutes on the planet, not literally, but it's a very short time that you're here on this earth. If you want to spend that time going to war with white people and the police and the system and just raging against the machine and going back and forth and just responding to whatever stimulus they put out there for you, that is, in my opinion, I think that's a pitiful existence. I think it is. And I'm not saying I've never been in there. I'm just saying I've woken up from it and I see it. And I'm just trying to help people see the exact same thing. It is a control matrix and it works so well, especially if you can get black against white. If you can just get the races warring against each other, they're so easy to control. When at the end of the day, they're collecting tax money, getting rich off of all of us. They want to depopulate all of us. They want to play God on earth. I'm just saying, people don't want to talk about that. Then it's not as important. It's not as cool to say that you're a child of God before you're anything else, which I am. It's not cool to be yourself, to be an individual. You got to say you're a part of a group. You got to like claim it, own it. It's a sheep mentality. It really is. It is. Yeah, eugenics. Here's my thing. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I don't really care. I'm going to say it. Okay. Now, let's go back to the rioters. Okay. I just talked about how they destroyed businesses and retail and private infrastructure in their own city to make a statement against the government. We go destroy the private sector industry. Now, the government wants to destroy the private sector industry, right? They want that because then those people who are independently wealthy and building their own little dreams and all that stuff, now those people are on the ropes. They're in a situation where they kind of have to depend on the government. Like, well, I can't afford to rebuild my business. Can I get a loan? A government-backed loan? Can I get this? Can I get that? Right? Now, the people that are going and destroying that are doing the bidding of the government that they're actually trying to protest against. They're trying to make a statement against the government. Now, let's just paint this little scenario. If you had a bunch of rightfully angry, right? Rightfully, justifiably mad, angry, frustrated. I'm as mad as you. I'm just making sense of it. Okay. Imagine them doing something as it relates to the riots and what we've seen in Minneapolis. Imagine if it was a little more strategic, like the police precinct. That is a strategic attack. Okay. I think whether or not people agree with them going after the police precinct, people understand why they did it. That at least makes sense why they would target the source of their anger and frustration. The source of the anger and frustration is the government, the police station, the police precinct. That is part of the government. You're mad at them, right? So it makes sense if you did that. Now, what else should the Black community specifically be angry about that might, and no, I shouldn't even say this. I'm going to go ahead and just give a disclaimer. No, I'm not saying they should do this. No, I condemn all violence and vandalism and rioting and destruction of private property and public property. I condemn it all. But I'm just saying Planned Parenthoods, those are specifically in minority communities, and you can verify that by looking on Google Maps. Go to look at Southside Chicago on Google Maps, type in Planned Parenthood. You'll see them pop up like 7-Elevens. Now, with how many black babies are aborted every year, and if Black Lives Matter, and if Don Lemon on CNN says, looters and rioters are really just protesters, they're angry, they're outraged, it's justified, and Black Lives Matter, and the number one source of black death is abortions, and Planned Parenthood is right there in the black community, and destruction of property is justified, you fill in the blank. I'm just saying that at least would garner should at least from the pseudo intellectuals that say like, oh man, you just condemning them, you just hating, you ain't really black, you Uncle Tom, whatever. Okay, but then you're also going to turn around and talk about Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger and all these other things. I'm just saying, the Planned Parenthood is unscathed, but you go after the black-owned business, you go after the pawn shops, you go after all the things that make your community halfway decent to live in. You just wipe it all out in a scorched earth reaction. You just literally scorch the earth, but you leave the one thing that's destroying your race, people that look like you. Since we're playing the identity politics game, since we just must do that, since we have to focus on skin color and how people with certain pigmentation have it bad in America, right? But we don't want to actually dig it up by the root. We don't want to do it. We don't. Because if we did, we would go after the people who are actually doing the most destruction. The most. I'm just going to go ahead and say, it's not the police. If you just had to put it into numbers, it's not. Killings like this are rare. They are. No matter how much your feelings say that they aren't, like, no, it happens every day. We're hunted every day. If we're being hunted every day, the people that are hunting us suck at hunting. We're outnumbered. We're 13% of the population. And if this country hates us, if white people hate us, if the government hates us, why haven't they just literally exterminated us? Why have they not done it? What is taking so long? Oh, that's right. We're doing it to ourselves. That's right. We can't talk about that. You're not allowed to. You're not black if you tell the truth. Right? We don't want to do that, okay? We destroy ourselves. But because of the brainwashing, because of the propaganda, because of the flat out lies, because LeBron James said we're hunted every day, we turn all of our attention elsewhere. We do. But if we actually cared, we could actually make a real difference. If we cared about the right things, and just tweaked the strategy just a little bit, I think we could get some real results. So if there's any pro-blacks in the chat, anyone that's mad at me, but can't say anything about the message, that's what I'm saying. They attack me, but they don't attack the message, which really just subcommunicates to me that I'm right. If all you can say is you're an Uncle Tom to what I just said, then that means, man, I agree with you, but I don't have an argument. You're right. I don't have an argument. So I'm just going to name call or I'll threaten you. That's what happens. I get threatened and stuff. And the white liberals do that too. I'm just saying, if we really wanted to do something, we could. We absolutely could. And if it's by the numbers, which it should be by the numbers, what is causing us to be just 13% of the population still, despite being the minority with the longest standing in America? Black people have been here longer than every other race and ethnicity, and yet we're still just under 13% of the population. How is that possible in the most medically advanced country, the most technologically advanced country, the most economically advanced country, one of the safest countries, one of the countries with the most economic opportunity? There's no famine here. There's no disease here. Well, There is, but it's not like third world countries. You get what I'm saying? If you can't make it in America, you can't make it. It's on you. You got to look in the mirror. As an individual, not as a collective, not as a group. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. There's no such thing as collective success. You succeed by your own merits, your own skill, your own will. It's on you. There's no such thing as group success or group failure. So no, that's why I will not support riots and looting and violence. And I will not see my skin color as a disability. I do not have an inferiority complex. I don't want special treatment. I want equal treatment. That's what separates me from a whole lot of people in this country who look like me. That's what separates the Anthony Brian Logans, the Brandon Tatums, the Patricia Dixons. We're the ones who see ourselves as equal, not just to white people, but to everybody else, because we're all the same. We're all the same. We're human beings. Do we have differences? Sure. But we recognize the similarities. We see the differences as, oh, okay, that's cool. And that's it. Instead of like, you don't look like me, so we're enemies. Naturally, we're enemies. I mean, it's just a sucky way to live, to look around and see somebody as your enemy. Let me give a shout out to some of these super chats. Thank you, Elizabeth. I didn't read some of the comments. I have a new member, Ellie. Thank you for being a member. And I'm sorry if I missed someone else's super chat. Hold on. Victor, how does this affect the election? I guess it remains to be seen. I mean, the election was already going to be affected just because of the coronavirus, just because of the fraud mail-in voter ballot. Like, we knew this even before the all this popped off, right? Before China unleashed this havoc on the world, we already knew that 2020 was going to be a bumpy ride. We already knew they were going to tamper with the election. We just didn't know how. We didn't know when. I thought it would be much closer to November. I figured it'd be like late summer, right? As it really kicked off, like after they had the Democrat nominee and they maybe started getting into debates. Then I thought it was going to start getting crazy. But I think, man, we knew it was going to be something because we saw it in the midterms. We saw what happened in the midterms. We saw them, at least in Florida. We saw what happened with Brenda Snipes. We saw that they were bringing in ballots in unmarked cars at night. And all of those ballots, they're like, no, we need to count every vote. Well, every vote they counted happened to be a Democrat vote in a swing state of Florida. This isn't a blue state. So you mean to tell me that of these voting precincts, all of the ballots that you just mysteriously found are all Democrat, all blue? I'm sure that's a coincidence, right? For all the coincidence theorists out there. Everything's a coincidence. You conspiracy nut. All right. So I think that with what's happening in California with mail-in ballots, they're going to try that. And who knows what else they have up their sleeve. You saw what they did with the Iowa caucus, with that shady app. See, they always put the truth right out there in front of you. The little app that screwed up the Iowa caucus, wasn't it called like Shady Inc. or something like that? You can't script this. You can't make it up, man. Does somebody else have something else to say in there? Hold on. Are y'all talking about Lucas? Lucas, amazing Lucas, is he watching? I forget what I was saying. I forgot what I was talking about, guys. Somebody asked me about the election, how I think this will affect the election. It's hard to say how this situation affects the election. I think this is just part of the greater agenda to control and dominate, because the coronavirus narrative was falling apart. The whole, this is the deadliest thing since the Spanish flu. You're all going to die. You're killing your grandma if you go to the beach. You can't go to the park. You can't go for a hike in the woods because you'll get people sick. Yeah, that narrative fell off real quick as the CDC reported that the death rate is way lower than they thought after Fauci came out and said, we shouldn't stay locked down too long. You know, after after it was proven to be what it was, a big pandemic, and after Memorial Day weekend, I think that's what really did it, because they acted surprised that people didn't obey the lockdown orders. Like, people had already been locked down for 2 months. It is now green and bright and sunny outside. You mean to tell me people are going to stay indoors and wear a mask and act all paranoid? No. So people came out. They didn't violate, or they did violate, the social distancing guidelines and all that stuff. And they knew, because the mortality rate's so low, because the infection rate is so low, they knew that there wasn't going to be a spike, despite telling us, oh, cities are going to start seeing spikes. Because that all started falling off, they had to move to something else. So I don't know how this plays into it. I just think that because they've rolled out these agendas, like the Trace Act, the fact that they want to do the ID 2020, the vaccine by the end of the year, mass testing and tracking and using drones to police everybody. Now that you have these riots, because I think there will be more. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see overnight, because it is a Friday night. People are out and about. People have been locked up for 2 months. They've had cabin fever. They're angry and outraged. They feel justified because CNN and the gang are telling them, you're just a protester, even though you're breaking into somebody's house with a gun and stealing stuff and burning cars. You're still a protester. Because they're doing all that. Now it really just justifies the scenario of martial law. It justifies it. And if I can find the video, I will play it for you guys right now. But I saw a video earlier this year. It was a compilation of trains with military tanks on them, just moving through towns, almost as if, maybe they were planning this. Maybe they were planning for some sort of martial law lockdown scenario. And by golly, here it is, right after the coronavirus failed, which coronavirus came after impeachment failed. Impeachment came after the Russia collusion narrative failed, and Kavanaugh failed, and stopping Trump from winning the election failed. But it's just a coincidence. It's a coincidence. I'm probably just making this stuff up, you guys. Why do you even watch me? I'm just making it all up. None of it's true. None of it's true. There's no way any of it's true. Houston rioted for about 6 hours today. I didn't know that. See, I have friends in Houston as well. I have friends and family all over the country, but I have a lot of friends and family in the Twin Cities, in Denver, and I have a few family members in Atlanta. But those are places that it's getting crazy. It's getting wild out there. I know LA has been wilding out. See, there's cities that are known for rioting. They're always like on the edge or on the brink of riots. LA is one of those cities. I feel like Baltimore is one of those cities. Detroit. These are cities that have had massive riots in the past. And I was checking Snapchat earlier, and Florida's fine tonight. There have been some protests. There have been protests, yes, but nothing violent, nothing crazy, no tear gas. I mean, it's very possible that could change if somebody lights a spark. That's all it really takes is one person. One person can incite a riot. That's why they have that charge. You can get in trouble for inciting a riot because group psychology, mob mentality, mob violence, hive mind, behavior, human psychology. The people that control the reality that we live in right now know that pretty well. That's why they control us this way. That's why you think this is by just coincidence for the coincidence theorists out there. Okay, get this. Our current reality is being controlled by 4 cities. That's it. They're the few, we're the many. Our country, and you could almost argue that our world, is controlled by 4 American cities. Which 4 American cities, Mike? Let's start on the East Coast. New York. New York is the financial capital of the world. They attacked the World Trade Center to bring that down. But it's the financial capital. That's where the money is controlled. That's where the stock market is, Wall Street. What else is in New York? All of the media companies, Fox News, CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, all headquartered in New York City, a very liberal place. It's just very concentrated. New York City controls a lot of the media. Also, New York Times and a Time magazine. A lot of those magazines and different publications are all headquartered in New York City. So a bunch of our information comes out of New York City. Whole lot of it. Washington, D.C. That's where the politicians are, the federal government, the Federal Reserve, the Supreme Court, the 3 branches of the federal government sit right there in Washington, D.C. And those surrounding areas are full of lobbyists, people, special interest groups, corporate interests, Jeff Bezos with his Ministry of Truth, the Washington Post. So there's your political hub right there in Washington, D.C. Then when you go over to the left coast, Southern California, Los Angeles, there's your entertainment industry. That's where they churn out all the propaganda, all the movies, all the predictive programming. And see, what's interesting about the little dichotomy between New York, East Coast, West Coast. New York is the information hub, right? Information, news, trusted name in news, CNN. LA is Hollywood, entertainment, movies, television, all that stuff, right? They tell the truth in the movies and they lie on the news. They tell the truth in the movies and they lie on the news. Almost everything that has happened or is happening or will happen in the future, you've already seen it. You've already seen it. It's predictive programming. They program you through imagery, through entertainment. That's where Hollywood is. That's where all the celebrities are. Who has the most influence outside of the media? It's entertainers, it's athletes, it's celebrities, it's LeBron James. That's why they campaign for politicians. That's how they go to college campuses and we're going to throw a concert. Yeah, Beto O'Rourke. LeBron James put on Beto O'Rourke's hat. That means I support Beto. They obviously think you're dumb enough to do it because they go out and support. Jay-Z and Beyonce threw a freaking concert for Hillary Clinton in Cleveland. They threw a concert. She didn't even talk to the people of Cleveland. They pushed them out there like, hey, black community, vote for Hillary. I'm with her. That's what Jay-Z and Beyonce did. That's how little they think of you. They think they can just push out celebrities who are ignorant to the high heavens, just dumb, ignorant. They are. And they don't give a damn about you, by the way, as they talk about how we need to open the borders and blah, blah, blah. Right? So that's LA. Okay, one more city. San Francisco. What's in San Francisco, Mike? Silicon Valley, the tech hub, the tech capital. We're living in the digital age. They control everything on the internet. Everything. People don't know this, but before Obama left office, he signed over control of the internet to some private corporation or entity in San Francisco. Right? So it's controlled. It's not controlled by the government anymore. The internet used to be, that was a government project, I guess. And that's why we all have the internet now. The internet just kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Remember dial-up? For those of us that are older than, I was born in 84. So the internet is controlled in Silicon Valley. What else is in Silicon Valley? This platform you're watching me on, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Silicon Valley. What are they doing now? They're implementing fact checks, and they beta tested it on the president. It's not on me yet, but it's a matter of time. What do? They censor voices they don't like. Jerk Dorsey thinks he's the ministry of truth. You got to go through me. If I don't like your opinion, you can't say it. You can't tell it. Like it or not, the internet is the public town square. And because the government, the federal government, doesn't have any say so, they can't do anything, then basically these tech giants, they control the public discourse. Google controls the information highway. Google controls what order you get to see the information you're looking for. Let that sink in. So Google, Facebook, Twitter, they control the public discourse. 4 cities controlling the entire reality that you're living in right now. 4 coastal, liberal, elitist cities are telling everyone else how they should live, telling us we have to stay indoors. We're selfish if we want to go to work and open up our business, while they're sitting in their mansions, in their penthouses in Manhattan, with their beachfront property, their rich estates out in the burbs of DC, out in Virginia somewhere. These rich, elitist Satanists are controlling the reality we're in. But we're not supposed to ever know that, because we're supposed to be fighting about race and gender and sexual orientation and all this other garbage. And the Black conservative movement was actually really growing strong. And now you got people bickering and fighting, and it's crabs in a barrel, and it's garbage. While evil is happening right in front of our eyes, we're fighting amongst each other over stupid stuff. And what's crazy is, since Trump has come in office, all of it has come to light. All of it has come to light, but people still reject it because Orange Man is so bad. They hate Trump more than they hate the fact that Jeffrey Epstein got away with what he did for years. 4 years under the watch of Obama, Bush, Clinton, the DOJs of the past. Nothing. They gave him a slap on the wrist when he did get caught, because somebody probably felt guilty enough, like, no, he can't buy me off. Some local police chief was like, man, we got to do something. Ed Buck out in LA. That just came out. Look at all the pedos that have come out and gotten exposed since Trump was elected. The pedos and perverts: Weinstein, Epstein, Anthony Weiner, Ed Buck. There's some other people I can't name. And there's more. Oh, Kevin Spacey. Can't forget about him. What do all those people have in common besides the fact that they're disgusting monsters and they go against godly things in this world? They're whatever. They all hate the president. They all hate him. Just saying. See, I know I kind of went all over the place because we're supposed to be talking about the precinct that was taken over, but this is where we are. This is the state of affairs in the country right now. There's so much going on. You can't just be hyper focused on one thing. And I'm not going to do it. I mean, some people want to do it, but I ain't going to do it. I'm just trying to get right with God. I'm just trying to do what I think is right. I'm trying to be better every day. I'm trying to live my best life. I'm trying to help others liberate themselves, connect to God, understand what's going on, understand that you are a free, sovereign individual, and The only way you can be controlled is with your consent, because we, the people, from everywhere in America to everywhere in Europe, Africa, Asia, Hong Kong, the story is the same everywhere. Look at what's happening in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is awake. The people of Hong Kong are awake. They had, I think that city has like 8 or 9 million people in it. They had over 1 million people in the streets protesting the communist Chinese government. Over 1 million people in one city, because they understood that freedom was their birthright and they did not want to be controlled by the government. And so to bring it back in, to tie it all into this whole situation with George Floyd was executed by the government. That's what it is. The government executes people every single day in this country, one way or the other. And that's what we should all be united to fight. I mean, this was the first time that I've seen the entire country united, actually, over this. I mean, we all have different reasons for why we were united, but we were united because we knew that what we saw in that video was wrong. We all knew it. We all knew it. I'm not going to get into like because I've seen a lot of people are cracking open this case and trying to, I'm just saying what I saw in that video was wrong. Some people are mad about it. They see it as it's an injustice because he was black. And the other people see it as it was an injustice because the government killed a citizen. See what I mean? Those things are very different. Some people are really angry because it was a black dude. Everyone else was angry because they killed someone. You can put me in with the latter. It doesn't matter if it was about race. The dude was not supposed to be killed. I'm not playing the race matrix game. I'm not doing it. That's not even fun. That's weak-minded stuff. It's low vibration stuff. It's control matrix stuff. But we all were united. We were united. I think we still can be united, but they broke that up because they drove that wedge in. And now we've got rioters and looters, and we got people sticking up for that and saying that's just part of the problem. We just got to do this. And then you got people like, man, no, all of it's bad. Government is the problem. That's what we should be looking at. The police department, the police force, they do the bidding of the government. They're the enforcement arm. Human lives matter. Human lives matter. If you say that, you're diminishing Black Lives Mattering. So they say. Which makes zero sense whatsoever. Someone said we're falling apart. I don't know if we're falling apart. It sure seems like that. It does. It does. But I trust in God. You know, God is with us. Jesus might be coming back soon. It's never... They say no man can predict the day and the day or the hour. He will come back like a thief in the night. But it's in my lifetime, it has never looked more like we are living in the end times. It has never looked more like it. And we're only 5 months, almost 6 months into the new year. We've completed 5 months of this year. And it goes without saying, but this coming election is the most important election you will ever participate in, ever. Because we are so close to the brink of total destruction and collapse. And now it makes sense why when Trump was elected in 2016, I didn't recognize this at the time. People were saying, like, Trump actually stopped this whole dam from breaking. the floodgates would have been open if it were not for Trump. And I didn't understand what that meant. Now I didn't get it. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. I just really hope that he doesn't get, how can I say this? I hope that he doesn't fall for the BS, because he has a lot of swamp creatures around him. It's hard to imagine how he can keep this up when the swamp is deeper than one man can handle. That's why it takes an army. It takes a bunch of us. I mean, he just signed that executive order going after social media. Good. I think that's like 2 to 3 years too late, but better late than never, because you need your army of supporters and truth tellers on the internet. And you need to probably stop complaining about Fox News not helping you get elected, because Fox News is never going to help you get elected. Nobody in the mainstream media is going to help you get elected. It's going to be people like me. Just like in 2016, it was people like Alex Jones. It's going to be people like James Woods. It's going to be people like Candace Owens. It's going to be people like Anthony Brian Logan. It's going to be a bunch of YouTubers and people on Twitter, personalities, just regular, everyday American citizens are going to be the ones to save the country. It's not going to be some news anchor. So I just say all that to say, I hope that Trump really is who the QAnon say he is. Right? I know I kind of bash that QAnon stuff because I think a lot of it is just endless breadcrumbs. You know, it's just constantly overanalyzing stuff. But in fairness to them, what they say and what they believe is true. If it's true, I guess we'll find out. We will find out. Personally, my faith is in God. I trust God's plan. But as it relates to saving the United States of America, I hope what they're saying is true. I hope it's right, but I don't see it. I don't. Amanda said something kind of daunting. The elements are going to burn. I don't think America will prevail. Well, if America doesn't prevail, I mean, that just means that certain things have to come to pass. And I don't have any fear. I don't have any fear. Nobody should really have fear, especially if you have faith. If you have faith, you don't need fear. What we need is love. You just need to raise your whole energy. Raise your whole frequency. Like, zoom out, get in nature, start eating right. I'm a hypocrite on that one. Drink water, get fresh air, get exercise, take your vitamins, tune out the media, turn off the tail live vision, turn on your mind, talk to people, pray for people. And that's it. I should probably sign off. It's almost 3 a.m. Damn, time flies. But yeah, this was titled 5th Precinct in Minneapolis being overtaken. And as far as I know, it hasn't been overtaken. But I guess we're just going to have to see, man. I'm not going to ramble or keep you guys any longer, but I appreciate this crowd that has watched. Thank you, guys. I was not expecting a crowd this big tonight. But in reality, I should expect a crowd this big because I'm saying some real stuff, you know. So I appreciate everybody that's watching right now. If you're new, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you know when I go live, because you know how these social media platforms are doing. You know what they do. So make sure that you hit the bell notification, because I think I'm just going to go live for now. Like, I'm not going to necessarily I'll do pre-recorded videos, but it's going to be like the Jericho Green style, like while I'm driving, and I just have my thoughts. I'm actually better when I'm doing that anyway. See, last year I did a bunch of pre-recorded videos. You know, that was cool to add the little edits and stuff, but that takes so long to do. It's actually quite time consuming for me. I haven't quite figured out how to be efficient. And it sucks to put that much work into a pre-recorded video and then they don't even promote it. Like the algorithms suppress it and it's just not worth the time when I could just say something right off the cuff, and whether or not I stumble over my words or forget something, then it doesn't matter because I got the message out there, right? So I think I'm just going to go live from now on because I can get a much bigger crowd live than I do when I'm pre-recording. And you guys seem to like it too. So I'll probably do that. Anyways, God bless all of you guys. Pray for this country. Pray for the cities. Pray for everybody who hasn't woken up yet. Pray for the people who are believing what they see. Pray for people who are wearing masks because they're living in fear. Pray that they can come out of that, connect with God. Pray, pray, pray. And if you're living like there's no God, you better hope you're right. I'll catch you guys in the next stream.